Hey guys, it's Michael from GPURisers.com, and today we're going to go over what we're mining on our RTX 3070 Ti build, and also an ROI analysis. Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm going to go over what's profitable on this card. We've done a lot of testing with this card, so we're not going to go in depth on every miner and every algorithm. But from what we've seen, the two to watch are Ravencoin and Ethereum. If you haven't seen the first two videos on this RTX 3070 Ti build, I did mention that we are running on MinerStat OS. MinerStat OS is a Linux-based operating system. Now, I've always mentioned this in videos that I use them for my entire farm, so I thought in today's video I was going to go ahead and show you guys the dashboard. Here is what the dashboard looks like. As you can see here, you have your workers. I currently have 10 of them. This one single worker is an RTX 3070 Ti. That is the name of this rig. I really like their dashboard. Right at the top left here, you can see the daily estimated earnings. Right next to the daily earnings, it shows how many GPUs are currently on the rig. Here you can see there are 6 out of 6, and all of them are NVIDIA. Next to the workers, you can see the maximum temperature for whatever card is hottest on the rig. Following that, you have the maximum fan speed for whatever card has the highest fan setting on it. In this instance, I have every card pinged at 70%. Finally, efficiency. Efficiency is important because it shows how many shares were accepted and how many shares were rejected. Or sometimes they're called invalid shares. For instance, if this rig mined 99 valid shares and 1 invalid share, the efficiency would be at 99%. Here, you're able to see that this is at 100%. We have not had 1 invalid share. The next little box that MinerStat has, it shows total power consumption. Here it shows around 1,057 watts to, I want to say around 1,100 watts. That's where it jumps around. And right next to that, it has power efficiency. How many megahash per watt? Over here on the right, you see total uptime. It shows 2 days, 1 hour, 56 minutes, and the last sync was 6 seconds ago. All of that information can kind of be consolidated down. These are the numbers that you really want to see. You want to see what you're mining, the client that you're mining with, how long the rig's been up for, the total speed of the rig, the efficiency, and of course the estimated monthly income from this rig. Now here on the mining chart, you can see this is actually kind of interesting. You see the wattage jump up and down here. 1200 watts, 950, 1200 watts, 950. You know, it really does bounce up and down. So this miner, NB miner, and also T-Rex miner, they have a setting that you put in to enable LHR mode. And what this does is it constantly is trying to unlock it, and if it senses that the card is locked by LHR, it'll adjust the settings automatically until it senses that an unlock has occurred. And I do believe that's where you see these fluctuations coming into play. So to show you guys what a healthy rig looks like, in MinerStat OS, let's switch over to, it's called Rig 1. This rig is comprised of, I believe, all 3070s. Now here, you can see the same chart, and we do have a little bit of red here for rejected shares. We have 285 rejected shares out of 201,000 accepted. That brings our total efficiency to 99.9%. Now, if you scroll down, you can kind of see which cards are the problematic ones. Number 2 here, it starts with 0, so it's really the third card. But number 2 has a 99.4% efficiency, and then we also have number 7 here, which is a 99.6. All the others are right around 100 or 99.9. Since this rig does have a 99.9% efficiency, I usually don't touch anything. Is sometimes trying to add a little bit to it makes it unstable, and those, down times are not worth the tiny fraction of a megahash more. So I'm going to close out of that, get back to our RTX 3070 Ti rig. So as you can see down here, we have all of our Zotacs here, 6 of them, and they're currently running on average at 53.5 megahash mining Ethereum. Now, if you could see the test bench behind me, it's pulling around 250 watts, and that card is a 3070 Ti for the Win 3 by EVGA, and that card is pulling at about 190 watts. So if you look at our cards here, they fluctuate anywhere between even 150 to 200 watts. From what I've noticed, these cards kind of pin right at around 190 watts, maybe 185, but I go with 190 just for a little bit of headroom, which is accurate when looking at the test bench behind me. You should also be seeing the live feed of the webcam that's connected to the test bench showing the wattage from the Asus ROG Thor power supply. And we've mentioned in other videos that we did do testing with this power supply when we first got it in, using a watt meter directly from the wall. And this power supply, showing the current wattage of the system, is plus or minus 1 watt. It's extremely accurate. So in the last video, I mentioned that we're going to run this for a couple of days just to find a nice stable point. And I think that we found that here. What I usually like to do is I will do testing on a test bench with one card, find out what the optimal settings are, and then apply that to the whole rig, especially when you have a rig that's comprised of all of the same cards. However, in the testing that we've done here, the optimum settings for some of these cards were higher than some of the others. They were very close, but I couldn't push these cards much more. I would say some of these cards are capable of 55 mega hash, some of them are only capable of 53.5. In this instance, I kept it at the lower end just for stability reasons. So that's a little overview of the web dash for MinerStat OS. Again, I use them for my entire farm. I could not recommend these guys more. I will put a link to MinerStat OS down in the description below if you guys want to check them out. They do have a Windows node that you can kind of install almost like the NiceHash miner, which if you have it installed on a Windows computer, it's kind of nice because if you go to your workers section, it will have it in your dashboard, even though it's on a Windows UI. So just something to point out there. So I switched it over to the first part of the video that we did. I explained kind of about the heat coming out of the back end of this card, and I just wanted to touch on that one more time. The airflow that's been coming out of this through the bottom has not been that hot at all. So it's really not bringing a whole lot of heat to the card under it. And I suspect that it's because there is no PCB board on the bottom here. It just has cool air to flow, straight through the radiator. So that said, let's switch over to what to mine, and you can see why I chose to mine Ethereum with the RTX 3070 Ti rig. Now, I know I didn't do a part 2 before, and I'm kind of combining the whole 3070 Ti analysis into this video. Since my last video, what to mine actually included a 3070 Ti here, which is really nice. So I'm going to go ahead and click that, and I'm going to just put 1 for now, just so that we could adjust the values and make sure that we are, have the right numbers here. So right here it shows 190 watts at 50 mega hash. That's very close, but we do have 53.5. Now we did have Ravencoin, and this is actually a very accurate number, 39.5 and about 250 watts pulling from the RTX 3070 Ti. So I'm just going to go ahead and run these numbers real quick, click calculate, and we have right here at the top Ravencoin as the most profitable. So there's really 3 reasons why I'm choosing to mine Ethereum over Ergo and Ravencoin. The first reason is if you actually look here, Ethereum is lower in total daily income. However, when you take into account electricity, it shows here ETH makes $3.22 a day. But if you switch over to Ravencoin, it says it makes $3.18 a day, despite Ravencoin bringing in or netting about 11 cents more every day. And that is simply just from electricity costs. So at the time of this video, Ethereum is more profitable than Ravencoin, and it does fluctuate. Some days Ravencoin is more profitable, some days Ethereum is more profitable. However, these numbers are extremely close. And to keep it more simple on me, I don't watch the profitability every single day, so just mining straight to the Ethereum pools is a lot easier for me to keep track of. And for reasons I stated in other videos, I don't want to mine Ravencoin directly. I don't want to mine Ergo directly. I would use NiceHash's stratums because I'd much rather be paid out in Bitcoin. So long story short, the first reason is it's more profitable a majority of the time, and also I can mine it directly on a pool. The second reason why I chose to mine Ethereum over Ravencoin is the power draw. At 190 watts, I can sit under that 80% power limit, right under 1200 watts, on a 1600 watt EVGA power supply, with 6 of these cards running. However, on Ravencoin, with 250 watts per card, that's going to be 1500 watts for all 6 cards, just on the rig without the system idle. With system idle, it will bring it closer to that 1600 mark, which is way over the 80% rule. So the third reason kind of leads off of the second one with power draw, and that is heat. Having 6 cards close together that are pulling about 250 watts per card, it just generates too much heat. Not to mention, the splitter cables that I'm using should not exceed 255 watts. I have used our 18 gauge splitter cables at around 250, 260 watts. However, it's not something that I would feel comfortable doing long term. So if I wanted to switch over to Ravencoin and really, push these cards to around 250 watts, I would have to add another power supply. And also I would have to, with that power supply, route new cables to make sure that I have enough 8 pins from both power supplies to properly power each card. Because of those reasons, even if Ethereum was, say, 85% as profitable as Ravencoin, I would still stick with Ethereum. And I think that those are important factors to take into account when mining. A lot of the times people look at, what is strictly most profitable, but they don't think in terms of, what parts they're going to have to change out on these rigs. So that's something I don't think a lot of people touch on. Is, if you have a gaming computer or a test bench and you only have one card in it, 3090, 3080 Ti, 3080, whatever card it may be, you're going to look at these charts and say, okay, maybe Ravencoin is the most profitable, and then you're going to mine that coin because that's what makes sense. However, when you have different algorithms that require different wattages on these cards, it's important to understand what the rest of your rig can handle. And because of how these are powered, I know a lot of people had issues with burning up power supplies, burning up 8 pins, or a lot of people use 6-pin to 8-pin adapters, and they had a lot of issues with their rigs when Ravencoin switched to Kapow, because people would have their rigs powered for Ethereum and then just bump up the power about 50-60 watts per card, and it would be sitting in the same environment that was originally built to mine Ethereum. So it's important to take all of those factors into place, and I'm not going to ramble too much about it, but that is why I will be mining Ethereum on these cards. Also, lastly, I just want to add real quick for this part of it, Ethereum recently had a 70% unlock on LHR cards through NB Miner and T-Rex Miner. Now, we're averaging 53.5 mega hash here, so if we do 53, and we divide that by 0.7, which represents the 70% unlock, we end up with 76.5 mega hash. So if sometime, in the near future, hopefully, a full unlock comes for LHR cards, these 3070 Ti's will be mining at 76.5, which I am very hopeful that will come sometime soon. We had an unlock for the GDDR5X memory, the ETH enlargement pill, was used for 1080s and 1080 Ti's, and I mentioned it in some video before, I can't remember which one it was, but I did mention that I do believe something like that will come out for these as well. But for now, even at 53.5, it seems like the best bet for me to mine Ethereum on these. So let's go ahead and switch over to an ROI analysis on this rig. It was pretty expensive, so let's dive into it. So these Zotac RTX 3070 Ti, a lot of people have been asking me how I got them. I got a couple of these on StockX. I got one local, and I did get lucky on Amazon. I got 2 through Amazon. On average, I averaged these out. I got these for about $10.75 each. So $1,075 per card. Let's use Ethereum as an example. $3.67. The difference between that is 45 cents a day in electricity. So that brings us to $3.22 a day, with a total day to pay off the card of 334 days. So I've mentioned a couple other times, and these values have changed. These first 3 cards, the 3060 Ti, 3080 LHR, and 3080 Ti, I'm sure that these are much higher now than when I initially did an ROI analysis on them. However, again, I like to look at any card that has an ROI of under 1 year. So if you haven't seen the other videos, just real quick, the tax analysis takes into account that you have a gain going into the next year. That would mean a dividend from stock that you may have, a sale of stock that you have a gain on. You will owe tax for whatever tax bracket your income is in. If you have a salary job and you get a W-2, you have federal income withheld from every single paycheck. So if you wanted to create a crypto mining business, and you're sitting just say in October of this year and you wanted to buy 10 of these cards and start mining on them, you could front load that depreciation against whatever federal income tax you already had withheld. So even if you don't necessarily have a gain, you could have a loss from this business rolling into the next year because you won't pay this card off by the end of the tax year. So that's one way to kind of look at this. I will be doing more videos. I know you guys keep asking me to do it. I am going to do full, business setup videos, tax planning videos for how to, properly set up a mining business. So I promise you guys those are coming. But let's jump into the RTX 3070 Ti. So here you can see an after gain tax price for the RTX 3070 Ti is $806.25. Real quick, that's the cost if I did have $1,075 a gain carried into the next year, or if I just had a W-2 with federal income tax withheld, if I had no other gain for that year, I would get a refund of the difference between the $1,075 and the $806.25. So if I went into the next year and I had a gain of $1,075 and I just took that as cash into the next year, I would owe 25% on $1,075, which that difference is the difference between $806 and $1,075, which is about $270. So if I decided to go and venture off and start a crypto mining business, then really the net cost of an RTX 3070 Ti would be this number, $806.25. So with all these numbers the same here, we are looking at days to pay off the card is now sitting at 250, which is not as great as the other cards, but it's very good in my view. Now, there's a couple different reasons I just want to touch on, now that we're kind of at the end of this video. And I touched on them with the power and everything like that on why I was going to mine Ethereum rather than Raven Coin. But a lot of those reasons also transfer into why I chose to get 6 of these cards rather than 6 of any of the other cards. The first reason is consolidation. I don't want a whole bunch of, RX 470s running, but on the other tail end, I don't want a whole bunch of 3080 Ti's running. So it's kind of hard to find a middle ground. And that's kind of where I landed with the 3070 Ti. The second is just pure availability. I can hope and wait that in 4 or 5 months I might be able to get a whole bunch of 3080 LHRs, but the reality is that might not ever happen. This past month I was able to accumulate about 6 of these for very close to MSRP, so I went ahead and pulled the trigger on that. I really only needed 2 more 3080 LHRs. I currently have 4 of them mining in a rig by themselves. However, out of those 4, 2 are already thermal throttling, and the fans are at around 80%, and there's very adequate cooling on them. And I know I could change the thermal pads and repaste it and everything like that. However, I don't want to do that with every single 3080 that I get in. Not to mention the very large price premium that I would have to pay on a 3080 LHR. So I know looking at these numbers, it looks like I might have been a little bit crazy to get 6 of these 3070 Ti's. However, I really do feel like there is a strong future with these. 3080 LHRs are great mining cards. So those are going to hold value for a very long time. And the RTX 3070 Ti is a decent mining card, but in the gaming community, I feel like that these price points for these cards, the 3070 Ti will be very sought after. And I do feel in 2 to 3 years, the 3070 Ti will have still tons of uses and applications for people. And the last reason is, I think that you guys could see it in the dashboard. I had about 10 mining rigs. It's not nearly as crazy as some of the other things that you've seen, but it's taken me quite some time to build up that amount. And I've been such a believer in cryptocurrency and blockchain for years and years. And what I continue to do to this day is I'll pay off these rigs with the other rigs that are already paid off. So this $806 to pay off this card, and it's only generating $3.67 of income. I'm rolling the income from my other rigs into this one now. So this one hopefully will be paid off much, much sooner. But that's just one way that I kind of look at things. Switching over to the ROI, if we just pull up our calculator here, 1,075 times 6, that's $6,500 worth of graphics cards, and that is a lot of money. If we add in the motherboard, and we add in the processor, and the RAM, and the power supply, we're looking at near $7,200 all in for this. So $7,200 for a rig that brings in $3.67 per day, or $3.22 per day, times 6, about $20. Doing just quick math on that, that is going to take almost a year to pay off. But an important thing to look at with that is in 360 days, this rig is still going to be worth money. A lot of these ROI analysis that you see do not take into account salvage values of these cards. And I think that is something very important to look at. You kind of have to think of it almost as a X and Y axis graph. As time goes on for these cards, it's more likely than not that every month that goes by, these cards will be worth less and less. But every day that goes by, these cards will be making money. However, like a car, like many of the other things that you buy in a normal world, I know a lot's crazy right now, the depreciation will be very steep right in the beginning because it goes from new to used. After that initial drop, the depreciation is a slow decline, while the income per day seems pretty steady. So it's important to know that just say it does take 360 days to break even on this rig. In 360 days, this rig, even if it's worth, say, half of what you paid for it, $7,200, half of that is still $3,600. So in 360 days, if you sold off, if you returned on your investment, you actually would be up $3,600. So really, at the end of 360 days, you just have your equipment paid off, but you still have that salvage value. And again, I know I've said it multiple times. I just feel like, many other videos don't touch on this and emphasize this enough. A lot of people will look at something and say a 360-day return is crazy. And I believe that thought, that idea that it will take 360 days to get any of your money back is wrong. Because your actual break-even point is somewhere in between all of that. And by in between all of that, it is before 360 days because of what the equipment's value is worth. Now, it's impossible to break that down and actually find that middle point of where you actually do break even. And that's because of price fluctuations on cards, supply, demand, unlimited factors really on these cards. But I really just wanted to emphasize that at the end of this video. So it cost $7,200 to build this rig. I used a used power supply, used motherboard, used RAM, used CPU and all of that. However, all of the cards were new. So $7,200, just say I lost 20% right off of the bat. Times that by 0.8. That's $5,760 minus the original $7,200. That means I lost $1,440 just of depreciation by opening these cards. However, if you multiply 1075 by 0.8 for 80% of its value, that brings you to $860, and I honestly feel like these cards would sell for much more than that. So I'm not going to ramble too much. I just like to give my input, my insight on these cards. So for all of those reasons, that's why I decided to build this rig. The cards are easy to get. 6 of them fit perfectly with a 1600 watt power supply. I can power all of these cards great with a single 8-pin splitter, and I believe the 3070 Ti will maintain value for quite some time. I am currently trying to get 6 more 3070 Ti's. After that, I think that I am going to start looking at a couple of 3090s. But that's all for future videos. So I appreciate you guys stopping by. If you like what you saw, please hit that like button. Drop a comment down below if you have any questions or concerns or anything that we did here today. And I'm going to be doing a monthly update on this rig to show you guys how much it's mined so far, how it's going, what's the profitability look like a month from now compared to today. And I'm thinking of just pointing this rig at its own Ethereum mining address so that you guys can follow along on the journey by watching the pool. But that's going to be everything for today's video. Again, thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you guys next time.